Good morning, friends and family. It is early Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend, and I have got a favorite recipe of mine to share with you today. Before I get into that, I just want to say thank you to all the service members. This is an important weekend to think of our loved ones we've lost and people that are serving who I dearly respect, and I spend a lot of time thinking about my grandparents on Memorial Day. They all served in World War II. So I just want to get that out there. But today is also, pretty much, Memorial Day weekend, I shouldn't say today, the weekend is the kickoff to summer. Well, summer's great and everything, but it gets real hot. So I have this really refreshing soup. It's a cold soup. It's a cucumber soup. And don't knock it. Now I know people are sitting at home going, I don't think I like cold soup. I've never had cold soup. You need to try this soup. It is mild. It is delicious. It is refreshing. If you live anywhere where it's hot, you're going to want to try this. It's also very affordable and very kind to the waistline. So I'm going to go over the ingredients and then we'll get to making the soup. It's very, very easy. It'll come together really quick too, so that's another nice thing. So I have my coffee over here, and Frida, just don't mind her. Like I said, it's early. That's optional. You can have tea if you want. But you're going to need a little half and half. You're going to need chicken broth. You're going to need some cucumbers. These are English cucumbers. I like these because they're less bitter. I chopped one open so you could see there's less seeds. If you're going to use regular cucumbers, which you certainly can do, you're going to need to seed them. These, I leave the seeds in. And like I said, they taste less bitter. But use whatever cucumbers you have. It's not going to make a huge difference. Just taste it, I think, before you make the soup, just to see that you don't have the bitterness. We're going to use a little bit of garlic powder, some salt and cracked black pepper, any kind of salt and pepper you prefer. You want to do Himalayan, you want to be fancy, go for it. This soup is very, very forgiving as far as changing up what you want to put in it. This is a yellow onion, about baseball size. I will probably use 3/4 of that. I have some fresh dill here. You can use dried dill. You are going to use less dried dill because it is more concentrated, so just keep that in mind. And a little bit of flour. Then for equipment, you need to peel the cucumbers and chop them, and chop the onion. You're going to need a big bowl to put your soup in. You're going to need a stick blender or any blender or your Cuisinart, but we are going to liquefy everything after it's cooked. And then a pot with a lid. So, not a lot of stuff, but it's incredibly delicious. And I'm going to get to chopping and sipping on my coffee. And I will be right back to show you next steps. Okay, you may have noticed that I didn't give you quantities. And the reason for that is your cucumbers are going to vary in size. So this is 4 pretty large English cucumbers. That's probably the equivalent or so of 6 to 8 regular cucumbers. The chicken broth, we will measure once we have all the vegetables in the pot, because they're just going to come up to the top of the vegetables. And since these sizes vary, I can't give you exact quantities. It's kind of a guesstimation thing, but this is not baking where you have to be exact, so don't worry. The dill, again, is to taste, so you may like more dill, you may like less dill. And this is to make a little bit of a roux, this flour. And I don't use too much of it, but if you want your thicker soup to be thicker, you will use more. And then, of course, the salt and pepper also is to taste, as well as the creamer. So that's why no quantities. I'm not really giving you exact measurements, but I will give you approximate ones. And then as you make the soup and taste it, you can adjust according to your preferences, which is another reason why I like this soup, because you can individualize it and change it up a little. So I just want to make sure I mention that. Now I will get to chopping. So your girl Marcie forgot a major ingredient, which is virgin olive oil, or you can use avocado oil, but you are going to need some kind of neutral oil to start cooking the onions. So, whoops, I forgot it, but then I remembered it, so there you go. Get you some oil, neutral, and that way you don't burn your onions. See you soon. All right, well, it smells amazing in here. I love the smell of fresh cucumber. So there's the cucumber, all diced up and peeled, and the onion. And you don't need to do a very fine dice on any of these, okay? Just make sure your vegetables are around the same size as you're cooking them, just so they cook evenly. You're not in a contest on, Iron Chef for knife skills, so don't worry about it. What we're going to do right now is I've got about 2 or 3 tablespoons of olive oil in the pan, and we're going to put our onions in the pan. I decided to use the whole onion. It didn't seem like it was enough with the 3/4. So I'm going to simmer these till they get translucent, and then we will add the cucumber. So I will see you shortly. So I'm stirring these around, to get them coated with the oil. I have the stove on about medium, and I don't want to burn these. I just want to cook them till they're nice and fragrant and, like I said, translucent. So, depending on your stove, how small you made these, that may take about 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I don't really know. Just, eyeball it. Your nose will know. I mean, already I could smell the onions. I don't know if you can hear that. Between this onion smell and this fresh cucumber smell, my stomach's growling. I think I need more coffee. I'll see y'all in a minute. See how nice and glossy these look? That's what you want. I may let these go for just another minute. You don't want them to brown, but I'm going to let them go for another minute, and then I'm going to add the bunches and bunches of delicious cucumbers. Okay, I've put the cucumbers in, and I left the stove on medium. So now what these are going to do, I stirred them all up with the onion. We're going to let these sweat. I would say for about 10 or 15 minutes. You want the water to start coming out of the cucumbers is the idea. So to help with that, I'm going to put the lid on here and set my timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to check them and just see. Let's not make you dizzy. I'm learning. Filming is not so easy, but it is fun. But I'm still learning. Anyway, I'll be back, and I'll check on these in 10 minutes. And they may need to go another 5 minutes or so. It just depends on your cucumbers. But when you can really smell them, you'll know they're done. And since we don't have smell-o-vision, I'm going to have to tell you what they smell like. So that'll be interesting. See you in a minute. Oh yeah, you can really smell these cucumbers. So they were covered and simmering for about 10 minutes. And when you lift the lid and you can really smell the cucumbers, you know they're pretty much done. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to add some flour to this to make a little bit of a roux. It's going to get sticky a little bit, and so what we're going to do is just stir that around. So I'm going to sprinkle flour. This is about, I don't know, 2 tablespoons maybe. You don't need a ton of it unless you want it really thick, and then you're going to stir it. in like this. So the vegetables are gonna get coated with the flour. Now I will caution you, at this point you don't want to be too far away from your soup because you want to get the flour taste out of here. You're gonna kind of cook this a little. If any of those of you who've made a roux, see how it's sticking to the veggies? It's kind of what you want. So once those are stuck to the veggies pretty good and you don't see a lot of dry flour, give it a few stirs. And then what I really wanted to show you is why I don't measure the chicken broth. You want the chicken broth to just come up to the vegetables. So about right there. And see, I still have, this was 2 cans. So depending on the size of your cucumbers and your vegetables, that's why I can't really tell you exact measurements. Now you're going to stir this. You're going to dissolve the flour in the vegetables and the chicken broth. And we're going to keep the oven on medium. And we're going to cover this and let it simmer some more. And this is what I mean by don't leave. The flour tends to come to the bottom of the pan and it can burn. So you want to make sure you're here to stir frequently. Make sure nothing on the bottom is settling and burning, because that'll definitely mess up the taste of your soup. So I'm going to cover this and I'm going to give it about 3 minutes. Stir it. 3 minutes more, stir it. Probably do that for about 10 minutes and see how tender the vegetables are, because that's the next step, is getting them nice and tender. Here's a couple of varmints. That's Cha-Cha. Ginger. There's Ginger. They smell food. So guess who's in here? Where you going, Ginger? What are you doing, Chach? Huh? You were sneezing earlier. Oh, Ginger, you stretching? Bless you, honey. Oh, you girls spoiled. Boop. Have some turkey. Okay, that's it. You just get a little bit. Maybe you can have a little later. Okay, so the cucumbers are pretty much tender, and I've added a whole bunch of dill. Again, I did not measure. It was a little packet from the store. I used most of it. If you want less dill, put in less dill. This is also an opportunity to try different herbs if you want. I stick with the dill, and then I've got some garlic powder, 2 tablespoons, that I'm going to put in here. And I'm going to add just about half a tablespoon of salt. And we're going to mix this up and let this simmer again on the stove, covered, for probably another 5 minutes or so. Okay, everyone, so this is pretty much done. You can see it's bubbling. It smells great. We're going to turn off the heat. We're going to let this sit for about 15-20 minutes. You don't want to scald yourself when you're blending, and I'm using a stick blender, so better that it's cooled off a little bit. And so I will be back shortly, and we will blend this. Hey everyone, I'm back. The soup is cooled a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and blend this with the stick blender right in the pot. This is my favorite part. Oh, and that's my timer. I do this so I don't forget anything. Anyway, here we go. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, this got blended really nicely. In fact, the vegetables were so tender, it blended up in no time. But you can see there's still steam coming up. And so I'm going to let this cool a little bit longer before I add the creamer. I don't want it to curdle. And so I've never had that happen, but I just, out of caution, like to have the soup a little bit cooler. I did taste it and decided to add a little more salt and pepper. And, so taste as you go. You'll find what you like. I like mine to be, not super salty, but I like to taste the salt. And then the cracked black pepper is really nice in there. I do think there's enough dill, but you could certainly add some more dill at this point. And as soon as the steam is gone, I will add creamer, and then we can stir it up. And that's also up to you, however much creamer. I'll show you how much I put in and what it looks like. But isn't this a pretty green color? It's this nice pale green. It will get a little paler with the cream. And it's just a really pretty soup. Hey everybody, I'm back with the final step. And that is to put the creamer in, which I'm using half and half. You can use milk or you can use heavy cream. That'll make it really rich. But literally, I'm just going to pour half and half in here. And then I like to just eyeball how light I like it. This is where you can taste it too. See how it's changing to like a really, really pale green? I love that. I think it's so pretty. It smells great. And honestly, that looks good to me. The final step with this is just to refrigerate it for a long time. The reason I make this in the morning is so we can have it tonight for dinner. Usually 6 to 8 hours is what I recommend for it to be chilled. If you can do it the day before and do it overnight, I highly recommend it. Hey everyone, guess who figured out how to do her camera settings for a better video that fits in your TV, hopefully? I did. Anyway, here is the finished cucumber soup. Look at that. It is delicious. I just want you to know that as soon as my niece found out that I made this today, she drove 30 minutes to come get a bowl. So I rest my case. Give this a try. I think you're really going to like it. I would love to hear, if you do try it, what you thought of it. I think you're going to enjoy it all summer. Like I said, it's figure friendly, it's tasty, it's refreshing, and it's easy on the pocketbook. So give yourself a try with the cucumber soup. Don't be intimidated because it's cold soup. You really will like it. Thanks so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. I will also be doing jewelry unboxings, jewelry updates, and also art journaling. And I hope to see you next time. And stay safe.